because it'll
Yeah,
record to my device. Okay.
I
If
was going to recommend you do it because me making it available to you, that might be a, a
that,
long time
that,
coming.
that
So
could certainly be problematic. No,
yeah,
I have now I'm recording, and everybody, this is not for redistribution. This is for my review as we look toward creating some online tutorials using this recording feature of Zoom. So here is our agenda. We click on the library's website. Well, there we are. Let me move this around just slightly to get it underneath the toolbar. Just let me do one other thing and I'll be ready to go. Okay. So here we have the library's website, library.piedmont.edu. As you can see, here is a link that talks in general and generic terms about the services that are available to you. Talks about access to online research assistance, books and ebooks, interlibrary loan, and so forth. These are topics that we will be covering this evening. On this page, you have a link to the hours of the library. If you take a look here, these are our current hours, right in here. Most any time that the library is open, there will be someone at the other end of the telephone who is ready to spend any amount of time that you need on the phone, helping you get past whatever difficulty you're having. The phone number for the library is down here in the footer. It's also on any kind of page that would be called a contact page. It would also be on pages that are linked to this Ask a Librarian link, which takes you to another part of our website where there are frequently asked questions. There's the library's phone number. There's yet another link. Well, I wonder why that's happening. Yet another link to the current hours, and also the calendar of the library. This calendar goes at least 6 months into the future currently. You might notice that there are two things on this calendar, something called Demarest. Well, that would be the library at the Demarest campus, but also we offer online help hours, which principally means that there is someone at the other end of this chat window who is ready to chat with you. And chat, as we know, is very useful for quick answers. And so when the chat is available, somebody will be glad to chat with you. You will notice that on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, online help is available for most of the hours that the Demarest Library is in fact open. So already we know two ways for you to get help: by telephone, using chat. There's another way. If we go back to the Ask a Librarian link, there's an Ask a Librarian link in the header and footer of every page on our website. You can come here. There are some generic frequently asked questions. There is also on this part of the display a form where you can ask a question. You can provide some detail about, well, I've searched here and I've searched there for information about differentiation in the secondary school classroom, and I'm not finding anything helpful. Can you help me? See, that's a kind of question that's easier dealt with you sending us a message to Ask a Librarian. We'll do a little background work and then we will contact you afterward. We monitor this email form on a daily basis. So there's a sense in which if online help is available, then that means someone is monitoring this online form. So that's another way that you can easily get help from us. So we've talked about the hours of the library, and there's always this display here in this corner of the homepage. We know you know how to get help from us by phone, by chat, or using the Ask a Librarian email. So any questions or comments about any of that so far? All right. So next, I'd like to talk about, you see on the agenda, off-campus access to online research services. I'm sure you are aware that there is the free internet, and then there's the internet that you have to pay for. And you students have already paid through your tuition for the library to provide a vast array of research and information services for you, and that the only way you can get them is because you're currently a student of Piedmont College. So in order, since you are always going to be an off-campus remote student, you have to be able to identify yourself as a Piedmont College affiliate. And that's what this link called Off-Campus Access to Online Research Services is about. This leads you to an information page. It shows you what the login window will look like that you will use to log in and identify yourself as Piedmont College student. And of course, you already know your Piedmont College username and password. It's the same username and password for Canvas, for WebAdvisor, and other college systems. And it's worth mentioning, of course, that your username is not your complete email address. It's the username part of your email, the part that's before the @ sign. All of you already have Piedmont College accounts created, so you could actually log on to one of our online services immediately. And some of you may already have done so. And you will see this happen in just a moment, because I'm actually doing this presentation from home. So in that sense, I'm a remote user right now myself. Okay. So we have talked about off-campus access and your username and password. Let's get to something a little more substantial. You know, you're in a specialist program. You will be required to do more and more intensive research than you are probably required to do in your master's programs. And so that's why we're having this presentation tonight, to make you familiar with your new environment so you can get started. So library homepage, this header, all about library services. Here you can see in this part of the page, the really significant part of the page for all researchers. There's a tabbed arrangement here. This box that appears first, called Quick Search or Discovery Galileo. This is a search that knows about everything that you have access to as Piedmont College students. All of the, and I'm not exaggerating, tens of millions of citations to journal literature, to newspapers, to books, to ebooks, and so forth. You also have access to a vast number of full text, complete texts of journal articles and ebooks and so forth. And so Discovery Galileo can produce huge search results. And so part of what I want to help you with tonight is understanding how you can search more and more precisely. This second tab, called Books, is a search of the online catalog of the library. The library, of course, still has printed books. The Mayflower catalog contains records for all of those books, also contains records for all of the ebooks that the library has access to. And you can come here and search for the Handbook of Early Literacy, for instance. And if that is a printed book in the library's online collections, you can come over here to Ask a Librarian, fill out the form and say, can I please borrow the Handbook of Early Literacy? And we will actually mail that book to you. That the only cost to you in that situation is to return the book to us when it's due or you're through using it. This tab called Online Research Services A to Z, is a listing in 3 different ways of all of the online services that you have access to. As you can see, you can choose a listing by subject, and of course, there's a listing for education. You can choose by type. You may be interested in choosing the type of ebooks or perhaps video and audio. And this, of course, this right here, of course, is a listing by title. To get us at, well, no, not to get us started, let's go on and look at this part of the page over here. Mirrors in a lot of ways what these tabs do for you. As you can see, there's a link here for Online Research A to Z, which takes you to the home page of the A to Z list. There's the journal locator. Your professors may ask you to read in very particular journals, or you may be chasing down items on a bibliography and want to know, do I have access to articles from Reading Research Quarterly, which is one of the leading research journals in reading. Reading Research Quarterly. And sure enough, the display is saying to you, there are full text articles available in all of these different services. It's available in Education Source, which you will see on that name mentioned on your agenda. There are articles from 1994 to 1 year ago. Over here in this service called JSTOR, you actually have all of the articles from 1965 when the journal began until the recent past. So this is how you can find your way to a journal and then do some reading in it. As a matter of fact, you can now launch a search here. Yeah, let's just do this. You can now launch a search here and get a result that's only from this. If you ever see this yellow bar at the top of the screen, click on that because you aren't quite logged in yet. Here will be your login to your Piedmont College account, and you put in your information, you sign in, and you have full access to everything. I'm not going to do that now because there's something I want to demonstrate in a moment. So let's go back to the quick search. Oh no, let's not. Let's go continue here in this part of the screen. The library guides selection takes you to another part of our website where we list research guides, course guides, and that sort of thing that we have put together for everyone's use. There is certainly an education research and resources LibGuide. If you come here, goes into a great deal of detail about how to finding journal articles in education, finding books, finding ebooks, and so forth. I would like to mention here in passing something that we only put together just recently on this particular LibGuide, this tab for statistics. This page has a helpful guide from the National Forum on Education Statistics about how to use education statistics in order to put together action plans, how to use data and statistics and statistical analysis to inform planning. But here you see, here for instance, is Athens-Clarke County population demographics, the Georgia statistical abstract, school and student demographics from I think GOSA is a department of the state of Georgia. Here are national and state education statistics from the National Center for Education Statistics, and so forth. There's a whole lot of potentially helpful information, both fairly current, but also historical. So let's go back over here. Here is a link to information about using interlibrary loan, and I will come back to this in just a moment. So let's see, let me look at my outline. So let's go over here. Let's start with Discovery Galileo. The search that I used the other night was this one. And let me make this a little bit bigger. Can you see that I'm going to do a search on the word differentiation? Well, differentiation is a very common word. And if we were not to start limiting our search immediately, you'd get a whole lot of hits from the scientific arena. But as differentiation is a technical term in how you describe species and evolution. So we've already limited our search here. All of you are professional educators. You all have specialties. You either work in what's now called elementary education, which is what it was called when I was a kid, and then it became early childhood later. Some of you work in middle school, which used to be called junior high, and a lot of you will also be high school or secondary educators. All of you are concerned with special needs kids, and that's another specialization. Some of you may very well be athletics. Some of you may be involved with school athletics, and you want to concentrate on that as you do your research. So let's look at this search that I've created here. What can we learn from it about how it limits the results? If you say differentiation and secondary, then you have combined those two terms. I want things that include the idea of differentiation and the idea of secondary education. Now, we all know that education is a field that uses a great many common words in specialized ways. And so if you search on something like differentiation and secondary, you may not find sources that don't necessarily use the word secondary. They use the phrase high school instead. So does everyone notice something really helpful here, that I have put the words high school in double quotes? Double quotes turn the keywords high school into a phrase. So that you are limiting your search to, I want to find differentiation and either the word secondary or the phrase high school. Now in this display here, I've put the words and or in all caps. You don't have to do that, That is simply to make this a little bit clearer for you. So the takeaway here is combine your terms and provide alternatives in the form of synonyms. English is a very, very broad language with a great many synonyms for things. And secondary or high school is a way to capture as many of the same sorts of things as you possibly can capture. Now, how else can we limit this search? Let me make this a little bit smaller. Well, do you want to search all subjects? Let's not search all subjects. Let's limit our searching to education. Let's limit our search right now for my illustration purposes to scholarly, peer-reviewed academic journals only. So let's go. As you can see, you're now going to identify yourself. Here we have the result interface for this service. So let's take a look at what result we've gotten. As you can see, there are 161,000 results, and we will talk a little bit in a moment about how you can be more focused in your searching. As you can see, here is a hot linked title. Here is publication information, which you will use to make a citation to this article if you quote from it in a paper. This is from those authors in European education, and there is the date and issue information. See this line right here? This looks like a paragraph. The article explores how the horizontal differentiation of upper secondary education and thus and so. Well, that's the beginning of the abstract, the summary of the article. And as you already know, because you've gotten your master's degrees and you've done this before, the summary, the abstract is your friend. What else is on this display? Here are subject headings, and these can be very, very useful to you for providing you more words, better phrases to characterize the topic that you're interested in. As you can see, here is a link out to the PDF full text. You could click on that and get to the article, which we will do in just a moment. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that something that I want to use for illustration is actually there. So let's scroll down the page. Let's just take a look at curriculum differentiation and the comprehensive high school. Well, let's take a look at that. The beginning of the abstract piques your interest. So let's click on the title link and find out some more information. Here is a full display about this article, and there you can see there is the complete abstract. Here are descriptors, which are the same thing as subject headings. Here's the link to the full text. So you can click on that. And let's go to this next display. As you can see, this next display is the PDF of the article. You could, of course, page through it right now. But let's look over here. There's a printer icon. There's another one. There's a download icon. And here is an email icon and some other things that will be helpful to you. Obviously, yes, you could print this right now, but don't. You should, the good practice is you should save this for yourself or email it to yourself and review it later, rather than incurring the expense of automatically printing something. You can email this to yourself, you can email it to other people, There's no restriction on that. So you could email it to members of a group that you're working together on a presentation. This little page is the cite icon, because if you read this article and you realize it's right on point for a point that you're trying to make in a paper, then you know that you need to make a citation to it. That's what the cite tool can help you with. So if you click on that, well, here's a listing of the citations, this citation in various formats. Of course, in education, you're going to use the format of the American Psychological Association. Here it is. You could now copy and paste this into a document, and this is a complete citation for you. You will find that the content of this citation, 98 to 99% of the time, is complete, and you can rely on its completeness. However, you will also find from time to time that things will be wrong about the formatting, like the author's names will be complete rather than in a form with initials, or the title will be in all caps. In other words, you can trust the content, but you can't really trust necessarily the formatting. Let me get over to the chat window because I see that someone, and hold on, this is not going well. Let me get I don't know how to get back to the chat window. Oh, yes, I do. Hold on just a second.
The question is, if you email this article,
Unmute, Dr. Griffin. Dr. Griffin, you were muted all that time.
sorry, her question is, if she emails the article to someone, do they have to be a Piedmont College student or staff?
That's an excellent question. No. You could email it to any other email domain in the universe. So you could email it to someone's Gmail account or whatever other kind of non-Piedmont email account. There's no restriction on that. That's a very good question. Because these things are restricted, you shouldn't presume that you can, without asking, that you can take certain kinds of actions. Excellent. Okay, so where was I? What window did I have open? All right, there we are. So the takeaway from this is 99% of the time you can trust that the content of these citations is accurate and complete, but pay attention to the formatting because you will find it, because these things are input by human beings, that sometimes the formatting is incorrect. Let's close the cite tool. What is that tool? That's the export, that's the permalink. Okay. At this point, I want to open a different web browser and demonstrate something to you, because I want to encourage you in a good and organized way of saving articles and organizing them. You see this icon called Add to Folder. You can create a My Folder on this system. You will hear us librarians call this the EBSCO system. It's the one that you're most likely to be using most of the time. Now, because I'm already logged in through that, I was using Chrome. I want to go back and to do this. I'm just going to do a generic search to get over there. And I have to log in again because I'm using a different browser. I've opened a new browser session, so I have to log in again. But let's get back over to EBSCO. so that I can show you. I want to set up a folder and save stuff to it. So if you click on folder, oh, it's going to log me in as myself. And I don't have a way to log out. Okay, basically, I can't demonstrate that.
Maybe hit switch accounts.
I don't have another account. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's switch accounts because I'll bet you that it'll show you it that way. Okay, yes. Thank you for telling, whoever you are, thank you for telling me that because I may never have figured it out for myself.
I'm the only other dude in the meeting.
Okay. So when you want to set up an account or you want to access your account once you set it up, you'll see you may see a login window like this. So it's saying to you, don't have an account, create one now. The secret about using this is that you should use your Piedmont College username and password because all of this is going to be keyed back to your Piedmont College user student account information. So now what you can do with this, and I seem to have lost my window, so let me just do this again. And you know, because of the way this thing works, it is possible that once you're logged in through Open Athens, our user credential system, it may automatically create a folder for you that's based on your Piedmont College username and password. It's difficult to backtrack because I already have an account. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is, as you can see on this display, here is a blue icon with a folder on it. I can save this article to either my folder or some special folder that I've created for a special purpose. So let's go over here to the folder area. As you can see, I've saved a bunch of different articles in here while I've been doing these presentations. So here is an article on cognitive predictors of math difficulties. And here is the full citation. Here is the link to the full text. The thing I particularly want to point out to you that could be terribly useful for you, over here on the left-hand side, toward the bottom of this column, you can create your own folders. So you could create a folder named for a class. You could create a folder named for a paper. You create a folder when you start assembling materials that are specifically about your capstone project for your EDS. So you can organize the things that you encounter. That's a very good practice, partly because you may not be able to remember 6 months from now where you found an article that you remember, but has just now become important to you. Let me close these windows and reopen my search. Differentiate. And while we're waiting for this to refresh, any questions or comments from anyone at this point?
Yes, Dean West, I do have a question.
Yes. David, if you're the one talking, you're muted again. Why don't you do Alt-A?
Sorry. It's about updates to the APA formatting. If we copy and paste from the article, do we have to worry too much about the updates?
Well, the citation format that you're seeing there is APA edition 7.
Okay, excellent.
That is the current edition, which came into play about a year ago.
So once it changes, all of the articles on, let's say, an EBSCO host or something, all of those are going to be updated.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You still have to pay attention to all of this when there's a transition, because there are inevitably going to be time lags. Though when this happened a year ago, the citation formats in EBSCO and ProQuest and the other services actually took place more readily than on one of APA's websites. Okay, so let me scroll down the page, because you can see that there are all of these PDF icons, and that means you can get to these articles immediately. However, specially designed instruction in middle and high school co-taught classrooms. Co-teaching is something that graduate students do research in fairly often. Let's say you've read the abstract and you say, oh, I got to read the whole thing. This is going to be very important for me. However, there is no friendly PDF icon. What is this icon called? Full Text Finder. Full Text Finder knows about the location in all of the couple of hundred services that you have access to of where the full text of the article might be. So let's click on that. So Full Text Finder is doing a lookup, and what it's saying to you right now is full text sources for this citation. Well, there's not a link there to some other EBSCO service or to a ProQuest service or JSTOR or whatever. What is here is a link to interlibrary loan. Now, you all know that libraries borrow and lend articles and books and so forth to one another. So this is how you have an option to get a hold of this particular article. So let's click on this link and see what happens. This comes to yet another login screen that uses your Piedmont College username and password. This is a login to the interlibrary loan system. So you are now at a screen where you can place a request for this article. And as you can see, the process has harvested the title, the article title, all of the publication information that we need in order to send this to another library and get a copy for you. This also has harvested the contact information for you, your name, your email address, and so forth. All you have to do at this point is say, I'm a graduate student in the School of Education. Of course, you know, the library has to gather usage statistics. When you press submit request, this comes to us on the staff side of the interlibrary loan system, and we will send this request out to other libraries, and they will send us a copy of the article at no cost to us, for that matter, or to you. Typically, we can turn around journal articles in 72 hours or less, often less. When you place an interlibrary loan request, the system will send you a notification, we have received your request. When your article is available for you to pick it up, which will happen online, you will get an email notification about how to do that. Now, I would like to go back over to the library's homepage, and let's make this a little smaller. You remember this interlibrary loan link? there's a place over here where you can log on to check your account and the status of your requests. So this is a list of requests that I have placed in the past for the sake of these presentations. Here you find the bibliographic information about it. If the article was available for you to pick up, you'd be able to press a button here and it would let you download the article. And again, you will get a notice. You don't have to just come back here and check. You will get an email notice from the ILL system saying your article is ready. Here's how you can pick it up. It is worth noting for those of you who use Outlook, especially the Outlook client, if you have focused inbox enabled or the clutter folder enabled, sometimes things will end up in there rather than in your regular inbox. So you might want to be aware of that. All right. So what have we done so far? We have searched a bit in Discovery Galileo. I've mentioned some things about phrase searching that will be helpful to you. And I do want to mention 647. I do want to mention just a couple of other things. Let's go to this page called Online Research A to Z, which is where you're going if you would choose this education subject link here. But let's go to the home page for the A to Z list. This is a listing of everything that you have access to. And that's a whole lot of stuff that's not necessarily germane to you in education. So let's look at all subjects. Education. As you can see at the top of the page here in this buff colored area are the best bets. This is what we recommend first and foremost for you to take a look at. There are services here that contain video. There are services that contain, like this one, Education Source, that contain journal articles and citations. Another feature of this screen is here are all of the library guides that might be pertinent to you in education. Here's Education Research and Resources. If you have to take a school law course, and I don't recall whether EDS students do, but you certainly will when you get to your doctorate someday soon. So if there are any education LibGuides, they will be put over here in this column. It's worth noting because it's mentioned on the agenda. This service called Education Source is only about education. It's not nearly so broad, though it's still incredibly broad. This is specifically about education. It is less broad than doing an education search from that opening search box called Discovery Galileo. I mentioned this to you. It's the same interface. You'll find this to be very, very familiar. Okay, we've talked about journal articles. We've talked about interlibrary loan. There are just a couple of other things that I'd like to mention to you before we conclude. Are there any questions so far at this point? Okay, good.
Dr. Glass?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you just touch on Academic Writer and Grammarly? We've provided them links.
That's where I'm going next.
Okay, great.
All right. There are two services to help you with writing in general and social sciences writing in particular. One of them is Grammarly. You have access to a full subscription to Grammarly as Piedmont College students. The way you find your way to a link to Grammarly, well, you know, is it a working link? No. From here, let me show you what this is. You see there's a hot link to writing support. This is actually going to come over to a page that's part of the A to Z list, where we list things that specifically have to do with writing support. And Grammarly is here, and so is Academic Writer. Let's start with Grammarly. I have a feeling a lot of you may be familiar with Grammarly because you can use it for free. This is a more detailed, it's a more full-featured version that you get as part of being at Piedmont College. A point to make about Grammarly is that you need to come to the library's website and click on a link here so you can be authenticated as a Piedmont College user. Here is an FAQ about how to set up your Grammarly account. Grammarly and Academic Writer are both services that require you to set up a personal account in order to use all of the features. This is something separate from authenticating yourself as an affiliate of Piedmont College. So if you want to set up an account for Grammarly, you need to come to this page and click on this link, and you will be able to come over here and set up an account for Grammarly. They want you to use your email as a username. So I would recommend, or it's not I recommend, you must use your Piedmont College email when you set up a Grammarly account or an Academic Writer account, because your email of @piedmont.edu is an identifier in this circumstance. I also recommend, if we could go back here, because we're running out of time, otherwise we could spend an hour with me demonstrating the features of Grammarly to you. I strongly recommend, because it makes it a whole lot easier to use, for you to install the Microsoft Office plugin, or to install the desktop app for Windows or OS X and so forth. Installing the Microsoft Office plugin makes it a whole lot easier for your files to be located where you are, and you're going to work with them directly and alter them directly, rather than having to upload to Grammarly and then download the result and so forth. It's really much easier if you just install the Microsoft Office plugin for Windows. I will leave it to you to explore that. We'd be glad to, have a phone session or a Zoom session with you if you would like some help with using Grammarly. Dr. Gazelle asked, we mention Academic Writer. Academic Writer, you have to start from a link on the library's website. You'll be authenticated. To use it fully, you have to create a personal account. And there's the create an account link. Again, I recommend that you use your Piedmont College email address. Actually, you have to. It's not even that I recommend, you have to do it. And for simplicity's sake, use your Piedmont College password to keep things simple for yourself. Now, what is Academic Writer? Academic Writer is not just about how to make citations and references. You all have copies, I have a feeling, of the current version of the APA Guide for Publication. APA is the author of an entire style of writing for the social sciences. And in your specialist program, and especially once you get into your doctoral program, there is a style of writing, there's a style of structuring papers that you will be expected to adopt and follow. And while you can learn a great deal over here on Academic Writer about how to make references under the Learn section, there's also a section over here that your professors will strongly encourage you to use to learn about paper writing, formatting, and style. Let's click on Write a New Paper. Well, here are 9 different types of papers for which APA provides templates that are designed to exemplify appropriate formatting and style. As you can see, your professor says, write a literature review, write a methodological paper, a case study, a reaction paper, etc. There are examples here of how an empirical paper is structured, how you lay everything out. And if you click here instead of just clicking on the sample paper, these sample papers give you excellent full-length papers about how you might write and structure something. If you click on this link called Empirical Papers, then you can now create a template for your own use that gives you pointers, 1, 2, 3, 4 pointers on formatting your paper and so forth. Now, I will leave it to your instructors to give you more information about how all of that works. Okay, we have done this for almost an hour. I would be glad to take any questions or comments that you have at this point. We could go on for another hour and then we would all, slide under our desks in a coma. There's a great deal to know about how to pursue your research. I would like to conclude, if there aren't any questions, by simply saying, don't suffer in silence. You call us on the phone, you chat with us, you send us an email message using that Ask a Librarian form. We will be glad to get back to you rapidly. And the library is invested in your success, and we are here to help. Are there any questions that any of you have at the moment?
I have a question about the academic writer you were just going over and the login for that, because I've bookmarked the link, but I don't think I'm able to log in, and I'm not sure.
Okay, do you remember that I said you have to start from a link on the library's website?
Okay, maybe that's why.
You can't just go directly there.
Okay.
This has to do with IP address, internet IP addresses. It needs
Okay.
to see that you are coming from an approved IP address. And
Okay.
that means start at the library's website. Open Athens will authenticate you. That's how that IP
Okay.
thing is preserved.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Certainly. Any other questions? There's a whole lot to know. And I made a presentation Tuesday night. We've had 5 or 6 people write in or chat since then. So that's what we're here for. Please don't hesitate to call on us. Anything else from anyone?
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Glass. He is phenomenal. He's been there even when I was doing my doctorate. He was such a tremendous help, and the others in the Piedmont Library. But kudos, you just don't get this if you go to another institution. He is phenomenal. You owe him so much for how easy he has made it.
Well, I haven't done anything for him yet, but it will owe me later. Thank you very much, Dr. Patel. I appreciate those kind words. Okay, if there's nothing else from any of you, well, you can contact us afterward. We'll be glad to work with you. And I will sign off and leave you to the tender mercies of Dr. Griffin and Dr. Gazelle and whoever else from the faculty might be here tonight. So good night.
Thanks, Dean Glass.
Oh, how do I sign off? Oh, I'm just going to click the button and not sign off appropriately. Oh, that's what you do. Well, it's funny because sometimes the leave button will be down in the corner and sometimes it's hidden. Good night. Oh, I
Did-
need to, oh, I